Hello, this is Craig Wescoe recording for TCGplayer.com, and today we're going to play a typical Craig Wescoe White Weenie deck. Wait, what? This isn't a White Weenie deck. What am I doing? Okay, in all seriousness, this is the Sultai Midrange deck that I played at Grand Prix Pittsburgh this weekend, and I'm about to play it in the Magic Online Championship tournament. So this deck originally came from Logan Nettles, who won a Magic Online PTQ with it, and then Brad Nelson was talking about it as being the new Abzan deck, and he thought it was really well positioned. So he also played it at Grand Prix Pittsburgh, and I believe his teammate Alexei Telerov made top 8 with it, and I think the deck is really good. It takes a lot to get me to play a non-white deck in a tournament, and this deck did well enough for me in testing that I went that route. So basically the deck is a typical kind of green-black mid-range deck, sort of rock deck that can transition between offense and sort of controlling defense. So it has Languish, 2 main, 2 sideboard, so it can play that deep control game against like a White Weenie deck. Has a bunch of cheap removal spells, Ultimate Price, Grasp, has Ruinous Path, can kill big creatures, planeswalkers, and then Silumgar to steal planeswalkers or things like that. Now, it also has a curve of creatures that can all kind of win the game by themselves. So Sylvan Advocate becomes a 4/5, kind of dominates the board. Tireless Tracker makes a bunch of clues, draws a bunch of cards, gets big. Den Protector buys some things back. Unblockable, pressures planeswalkers. Kalidas, Gitrog Monster. So all these guys are kind of these creatures that are must-kill threats. And even Nissa, if you don't kill Nissa before I get to my 7th land, now suddenly I have a planeswalker that is taking over the game. And so if you don't kill the Advocate, you don't kill the Tracker, you don't kill the Kalidas, like all these bad things happen. So you're using all your removal spells, and then I play a Gitrog monster, and you probably are out of removal. Or if you have a removal spell for the Gitrog monster, you're probably not going to have one for the Dragonlord Silumgar. And so if you don't have a removal spell for the Silumgar or even the Gitrog monster, you're in a world of hurt. So the deck can really curve out, requires the opponent to keep in a bunch of removal spells against us, even though we are kind of a card advantage type deck that you typically want a lot of non-removal cards. You don't want to just have a hand of removal spells, because if you're just 1-for-1 killing all my guys, like Tireless Tracker, I'm going to get value. Nissa, I get value. Kalidas, a lot of times I get value. So you really have to fight a different fight than just killing our guys, like against a White Weenie deck or something. You just kill all the guys and you're fine. This deck, not so easy. We also have cards like Oath of Nissa to smooth out our draws. Allows us to get the double black we need for Ruinous Path, Grasp, Languish, Kalidas. Gets us our blue for Silumgar. Finds us more threats. Can find us any of our creatures. It's just a really good card in this deck. Then we also have Hissing Quagmires, 4 of them, and we have 1 Lumbering Falls, which work really well with Sylvan Advocate when we get to 6 lands. So we really are this value-y mid-range deck that I think is pretty well positioned right now. And then out of the sideboard, we have cards like Duress, which are really good against ramp decks, control decks. We have more removal spells. We have Grasp. We have Ruinous Path, which is good against green-white tokens because they have planeswalkers. Also just a pretty versatile removal spell against bigger mid-range creatures like Gitrog monsters, Silumgar, if we play the Mirror, Kalidas, things like that. We have Virulent Plague, which is mostly a concession to green-white tokens, but also good against like black-white tokens if they have Secure the Waste, any sort of what's that, Eldrazi Scion combo deck with a guy that makes 3 Scions. It's good against that too. Languish, mostly against White Weenie, but also against the Collected Company decks. It's really good, especially in conjunction with Kalidas. Lampult Pacifist just as kind of a one of. I almost cut this for a third Kalidas, but I decided now I'll just play the Pacifist because when I'm on the draw, I really want to have a 2-drop against like White Weenie decks or sometimes the company decks. So I just went with that instead. The most recent innovation was the Deathmist Raptor package, which Brad Nelson actually tipped me off on against, say, a Grixis midrange deck. That's probably our worst matchup. And so if we bring in a 4th Den Protector and 4 Deathmist Raptors, now we can suddenly grind them. They can't just kill our guys and eventually amass a better board with card advantage. Instead, now we can just like get huge amounts of value off of a Den Protector. So we're not just 2 for 1ing them with the Den Protector, we're potentially 3 for 1ing them or even 4 for 1ing them, depending on how many Deathmist Raptors we have in our graveyard. So that's a way to just really stay in the game against those mid-range decks. It requires taking up a lot of space in the sideboard, but I cut some cards like Transgress, Painful Truths, Clip Wings, some cards that were also mostly just for mid-range matchups. So we didn't really lose effectiveness. We just gained more of a recurring engine for that matchup, for those matchups. So this is what we're going to try today. Sultai Midrange. Again, I'm recording the mocks. It's 10 rounds, so I'm not going to show you every round, but I'll try to get the rounds against like kind of tier 1 decks. So if we play against green-white tokens, white weenie, black-white midrange, Bant Company, things like that. So let's see how we do.